Welcome to the 6th chapter of the book of 1 Kings. All you out there that like architecture or builders are going to love this chapter. It's all about the building, the temple. And it came to pass in the 80th and 400th year of the Exodus. Exodu is a derivative, is a transliteration of the sons of Israel from out of Egypt. In the 4th year, in the 2nd Devtero, we have Deuteronomy, the 2nd law, the 2nd month. In the reigning, and there's the vassal of King Solomon over Israel, that he built the ecology, comes from that, to the Lord, house to the Lord. And previous to this, it was in a tent, also called a tabernacle, made out of skins of animals and so forth, and other materials for the outer wall. I wouldn't call it a wall, but the shrouds on the outer part of it. And the house which King Solomon built to the Lord. And here it is. I found the dimensions from cubits to feet and metric system with this application on the internet, and I just would type in the number, and then it would give me the 2 dimensions, and I wrote them in here for people that would like to know a little bit exactly. A cubit doesn't mean a whole lot, but when you get it for Americans, feet makes a difference, and to the people in the metric system, meters makes a difference. I'm not sure which countries are on the feet outside of the United States, but that's what I'm used to. So the house, it was 60 cubits in length. Now, that's 90 feet long and 27 meters. And it was 20 cubits, its width. It's 30 feet wide. So it wasn't real big as far as buildings go. And it was 30 cubits high, 45 foot high. So that's fairly high. Let's see, I think a story in a house where I live, they're 8 feet. So 8 and 8 is 16. That'd be almost 4 floors in the height. Not that there were 4 floors, but it's fairly high. And the column porch in front of the temple was 30 feet, or 9 meters, the length of it upon the width of the house. So that's the same up here as the width, 20 cubits. And so it was across the whole front. And 10 in a cubit was the width according to the face of the house. So apparently it protruded out 15 feet. And he made to the house a window leaning. Now we go down, we see this dagger, and it has latticed in the Complutensian, a little bit of a different word. It's latticed. And he put upon the wall of the house a ridge around about the temple, also to the debir, which was the Holy of Holies. Now, some of these things, what exactly they are, I don't know. It's just what the Greek words and what the dictionary tells me. And he made 4160 to do or to make the sides. Plevras, we have the plural cavity in the body, the side, round about. Kiklothen, and kiklothen here. A kiklo, a cycle, comes from that. Kryptos, crypt, hidden, up here. All these derivatives in the orange and in the book English derivatives from the Greek New Testament. You'll find out about it at the end of this video seminar if you want to purchase it on our bookstore. It's not very expensive and a lot of help to look this up. It gives you a good understanding of the pronunciation of the Greek, the way it's set up, and also how English words have come from the Greek. The side, the plevra, underneath was 5 cubits was the width of it. So that's, now, that would be 7.5 feet. In the middle, 6 cubits was the width, 9 feet in the third, 7 cubits of 10.5 feet. So it got bigger. For he made a space to the house round about from inside the house, so as to not take hold of the walls of the house. Now, what all this means in these inner dimensions, somebody can probably come up with some good ideas by going to Wikipedia and looking up the temple and finding out all kinds of people write their ideas of what it looks like and draw pictures and so forth. And the house, in the constructing it, was built in whole chiseled stones, and a hammer and hewing axe and every item of iron was not heard in the constructing it. Now, the stones, what part of it, how much of it was all stones, I don't know. And the vestibule of the side beneath was by the protrusion of the house on the right side. And there was a winding ascent into the middle story, and from the middle unto the third story. So apparently it had 3 stories, and what was it, 45 feet? So that would make it 15 feet each story. And he constructed the house. Now within this was the Debir, the holy place. And he constructed the house and completed it. And he vaulted the house with cedars and roofing. And he built the chambers through the entire house. 5 cubits was the height of it, this chamber. And he held it together by bonding it together with timbers of cedars. And came to pass the word of the Lord to Solomon, saying, This house which you construct, if you travel by my orders, and you should observe my judgments, and should keep all my commandments to pace in them, I will establish my word with you, which I spoke to David your father. Now the orders of God, we have the command of what to do, and an order very similar, and a judgment is something that is decided which way you should go, left or right, sort of a judgment that God has judged for you to do. And I will encamp in the midst of the sons of Israel, and I will not abandon my people Israel. Well, now, he did it. If they continue to doing the above things in verse 12, they didn't. And Solomon built the house and finished it. And he built the walls of the house from inside with wood of cedar. So now whether the stones are on the outside and the inside is wood, it's a possibility. From the floors of the house and unto the walls and unto the beams, and that would imagine that would be the roof. And he vaulted it, holding it together by timbers from inside. And he compassed the inside of the house with ribs of pine trees, got from Lebanon. And he built 20 cubits from the top of the house of the sides of cedars from floor into the beams. That's 30 feet. Now that would probably be the walls, and then maybe it went up higher to 45 to the height. And he made it inside from the Debir in the Holy of Holies, and that's what we'll go into. And 40, that's 60 feet. It was 90 feet long, so 60 feet or 18 meters. The temple itself was that size in front of the Debir. So that would leave 30 feet. And cedar covered the house inside. Kedro, cedar, transliteration there. And there was carved gourds, decorations, and petala opened and spread out. We have this in green because that means it's not in the English derivatives book, but you can add it, 4070.2, and the derivative would be a petal. All cedar. And stone, lithos, a lithograph, stone writing on a hard surface, did not appear. So the wood inside covered apparently the stone. And the dabir was in the midst of the house within, to give place there for the ark of the covenant of the Lord. 30 feet, so that's right, because we said before it was 60 and it was 90 all told, so that would give it 30 feet by 30 feet. So it was the whole width of the building and 1/3 of the length. And 20 cubits was the height of it, 30 feet. So that part of it went up to 30 feet, and there was 45, so it makes it 15. So it's pretty well up to the roof. There was probably a space above it, and the rest of the 60 feet in front of this was apparently had 3 stories. And he compassed it with gold. Creseo, we have the chrysanthemum, the golden flower. It was being closed up, they covered over it. And he made an altar according to the front of the dabir, the Holy of Holies, encompassed it in gold. And the entire house, or the whole, if it was whole, it would be olon whole, transliteration. And the whole house was encompassed in creseo, unto completion of all the house. And he made in the dabir 2, duo is 2 in derivative, herovim, transliteration, from out of Silon. Kiparisinon, and we see that green, so you can add that, and it's cypresses, almost a transliteration there. Kipari, cypresses, cypresses. Deca, a decade derivative. So the cherubim, 15 feet. 2 of them, so that would be 30, would be the width, or the length, either one, I suppose. And was the greatness being measured by a rule. And 5 cubits was the wing of the one cherub. Now, that would make it 15 feet, and then 2 of them would make it 30, so they were almost the whole huge wings, 15 feet wings. And the second was 5 cubits of its wing, 10 in a cubit from one part of its wing to the other part of its wing. 10 in a cubit, so 15 feet. And thus to the second cherub. Now we have a little problem here because it's got herub, and I got to check it out. I didn't do that, and there's right down here. Herub is 5501.4, so I'm not sure why they're 2 different ones, but it is that way in here. Hopefully on the 3rd edition of the printing, I'll get this straightened out. So thus to the second cherub with 1 measure, and 1 completion with both. And the height of the one cherub was 15 feet, 4.5 meters, so it's a 15 foot high, and 30 feet, so halfway up on top. But it's on top of the atonement seat, so ark. So it's pretty good size. Thus also to the second cherub, and he stationed both of the cherubim in the midst of the innermost house, the dabir, and their wings were open and spread out, and one wing touched the wall of the house, and the wing of the second cherub touched the second wall, and their wings were in the midst of the house, touching wing to wing. So these were the things that were copies of the cherubim that are above where God is on the atonement seat. He's on top of it, and these cherub move around, and there's all kinds of descriptions in Ezekiel and Daniel and so forth. And he compassed the cherubim with gold. In all the walls of the house round about, he depicted sculptures with a stylus. And there's another green one. So it's graffiti. Now, I think the word graffiti comes from that because it's done with a stylus marking something. In the olden days, they had graffiti in the restrooms, even in like the Colosseum and places in Rome and certain places. So the sculptures were cherubim and phoenix, and we have the word phoenix. Well, a city named Phoenix means the city of palms. And the petala open and spread out to the inner and to the outer. And the floor, that's my phone. It's telling me I got a call. and the floor of the house he compassed with cresceo, with gold, of the innermost and the outermost. Esotatu, esoteric, something to do with inner. Eso is inner and exo is out. Inner and outer. And to the doorway of the davir, he made doors from out of woods of juniper, in a fivefold doorway, so folded out. And 2 doors were from out of woods of pines, and sculptures upon them being sculpted of cherubim and palms. And panels, patella, were opening and spreading out, these wooden doors, and he compassed them with gold. And the gold came down or covered over upon the cherubim and over the palms. And thus he made to the vestibule of the temple doorposts from out of woods of juniper, with 4-fold stoas, and 4-fold stoas were a long walkway with columns on both sides. And sometimes they had a covering over them. Sometimes they're open, sometimes they're completely closed over. And in both the doors, woods of pine were used. The one door was bifold, and their hinges were there. And the second door was bifold, and they're turning somehow, being sculpted with cherubim and palms, and probably means on a hinge. And panels opening and spreading out, and being compassed with gold, being led upon the impression. So these were opening up, and imagine like this. This is what I'm guessing. And he built the inside courtyard, the esoteron, inside, esoteric, comes from that. 3 rows of hewn stones, a courtyard, and a row being manufactured of cedar round about. Now, inside maybe, and then rooms above, I'm not sure. They may have held up these floors. In the 4th year, the house of the Lord was laid a foundation. In the month of Ziph, that's when it was started. And in the 11th year, in the month of Bul, this is the 8th month, the house was completed. So we have the 4th to the 11th, 7 years, according to all his words and according to all his responsibilities. They're all the directions given to Solomon, and he built it in there 7 years. My math was correct. Amazing. So now we have the temple finished. Now Solomon is going to construct his own house, the Cedars of Lebanon, I think it's called, something like that. We'll find out all about Solomon's house. You architects want to find out, and builders out there, how he made it. And you want to find out, you'll have to join us in chapter 7, in which I hope you do. And until then, and God bless.